Come, master. Come. Please.
I lay quiet, looking out onto my eyelashes in an agony of delightful anticipation.
Listen to them. The children of the night. What music they make.
From the D&E Studios, welcome to the Dracula Podcast. I am your host, Lawrence Burgess, or LB for short. Thank you to my producer, Adam Stover, Rob, and Martha of Southgate Media, and most of all, you for listening. We aim to bring you thoughtful, stimulating media, reviewing the films, books, music, and plays that make Stoker's creation so beloved, the criticism to inform your purchasing decisions, interesting guests, and the needs of our communities. Drop us a line. Please send us your questions and comments on Facebook at The Dracula Podcast. There you can find a great application to play directly into your browser. Can't beat it. You can also find us on Facebook.com/Dracula Audio, no spaces. Also Dracula Audio, no spaces on Twitter. That's Facebook.com and Twitter, Dracula Audio, no spaces. Or at the Dracula inbox at audio.dracula@gmail.com. We will do our best to respond to queries by direct response or on our show. Once again, this podcast is brought to you by the Foxborough in Charleston, West Virginia. They're the best. They're the industry leader in scoring, multi-track audio recording, mixing, mastering, production, and graphic design. If you have a project and you need to get it complete and you need that final touch, the Foxborough are the folks you need to contact. You can find them on Facebook. Click that page and give them a like. For queries, please send correspondence to 1007 Bigley Avenue, Suite 319, Charleston, West Virginia, 25302. Once again, that's the Foxborough at 1007 Bigley Avenue, Suite 319, Charleston, West Virginia, 25302. Folks, a warm hello and a hearty welcome. I really appreciate you all for joining in and making us the sexiest show on the net. And it's all because of you. We hope you took a chance to listen to our previous episodes. If not, check out the Southgate Media homepage at southgatemediagroup.com. That's southgatemediagroup.com. There you can find us everywhere. Folks, we're all over the place. We're at iTunes, we're at Libsyn, we're at Stitcher, and we're all over the place around the friendly interwebs. The 10-episode second season of Penny Dreadful premieres on May 3rd at 10 p.m. on Showtime. Absolutely no excuse not to watch it. It's not competing with anything else. That's 2 days before Cinco de Mayo on May 3rd at 10 p.m. on Showtime. We've been preparing you for the second season, the past few episodes, touching on each episode of Penny Dreadful chronologically. We're on episode number 7, folks, and it's a doozy. Spoilers ahead. I have no idea how any of you who have even heard of this show wouldn't watch Penny Dreadful, or hasn't watched Penny Dreadful. The reason why we promote Penny Dreadful is because of its value. There are few more valuable ways to spend your time than with this show and on our podcast. That's why we promote it. We don't promote garbage. We don't promote filler. We promote the best, and Penny Dreadful is the best. John Logan and his crew have created a masterpiece. Get a hold of it. You should go out and buy this on Blu-ray. Don't do DVD. We've been wearing down our listeners over and over again, and we will continue to do so until you buy the Blu-ray. Now's the time, folks. You can get this thing for under $40, and believe me, that's such wonderful value. Watch it in pure 1080p as it deserves. And folks, believe me, if you don't watch this show, the terrorists are going to win. None of us want that. So do it for the love of your country, and most of all, do it for the love of yourselves. You deserve it. And spotlighting communication from the Dracula inbox, we start off with Kelly in Charleston, South Carolina. Hi, Kelly. She asks, do you have a theory about Vanessa and her possession? Well, Kelly, we actually have a few, and after we go over the next 2 episodes, I'm going to go over some theories. It might be spoiling, but I believe it's interesting discourse. Our next set of correspondents is James in Dunbar, West Virginia. James writes, "What is the best way to watch the Christopher Lee series?" Well, James, it depends. Not all of these films you have to watch, but if you do want to watch them, it is a little complicated because different media companies own different rights. For example, here in the States, Horror of Dracula, Dracula Has Risen from the Grave, Taste the Blood of Dracula, and one more film are owned by Warner. However, you can't get Prince of Darkness or the next film in the franchise, so you have to go all over the place to get it. But chronologically, it can be done. My suggestion is to go as high def as you possibly can, but until Warner Brothers gets their act together and releases this thing on Blu-ray, hint hint, Warner Brothers, please get cracking on that. Until they start releasing this thing on Blu-ray, it's difficult. Right now, you can get Dracula, Horror of Dracula specifically on Blu-ray, as well as Brides of Dracula. However, it's a Region B import, so that means you're going to have a region-free Blu-ray player to play, and that's often a pain in the neck. But all of these are available in DVD, and a lot of these films are actually worth a watch, so go right ahead and check that out. As promised, here it is. This is our subcast, Casting Dread, the Penny Dreadful Show. The 7th episode of Penny Dreadful is entitled Possession. It was written by showhelmer John Logan and directed by James Hawes. Now it's time for a little story. We open to Vanessa on a couch before Sir Malcolm. He is concerned. Vanessa starts to tell stories about inappropriate photographs. Then she begins to relay his past transgressions. He asks if it is Mina speaking to him. She responds somewhat. Then she revealed how he forced his own son into sexual conquest in Africa. Then she rises and books fly from shelves and desks attack. Sir Malcolm is caught in the maelstrom until Sembeni arrives and knocks her unconscious. In Vanessa's room, Victor is called. He privately examines her. She asks him if he values cleanliness. He does. And she presumes that's why he's a virgin. Then she pulls a line from Shelley right out of his head. No more let life divide, what death can join together. Victor is shaken. She wants to know if the examination is finished. It has not yet begun. Victor tells Sir Malcolm that she is manifesting a deep psychosexual response from guilt or shame. Sir Malcolm says that she went out with a young man. Then, as Victor peruses Vanessa's cards, spiders spill from underneath it and threaten to overrun the room as Vanessa cries out from above. Ethan arrives. He goes upstairs. Vanessa apologizes as she isn't at her best. Ethan sweetly takes her hand. She asks him a question. She asks him if Ethan took him, or did he take Ethan, that beautiful boy of their dreams. Ethan is stunned. She fights them and has to be sedated. Ethan does not understand this. Sir Malcolm says she's been possessed by the devil. Ethan chastises Victor, but it's beyond his practice. They cannot bring a priest. Sir Malcolm says that Mr. Lyle told that she was taken by a force representing the goddess Amunet. If this force succeeds to take her, it will unleash untold horrors. Sir Malcolm asks Ethan to stay, to which he agrees. Then over a course of days, they fight to keep her sedated and alive, and they are losing. One night, Ethan is alone with Vanessa in her room. Ethan tells her that they are thinking about restraining her for her own safety. She wants a glass of water. She says that he has been very kind to her, and she probably has fallen in love with him. She apologizes to him and asks him that when the time comes, that he sent her to hell. Ethan responds that he shall send her to heaven, but he believes in the other place more, for that was the place where God cast him out. She tells him that she will not submit to him. He could choke her life out and kill the rest downstairs. Yet Vanessa says her soul would be intact. What does he want? He wants her to be the mother of evil, to to rule at his side to topple God from his throne. Sir Malcolm is downstairs with the real Ethan, preparing an expedition. While fingering a token of St. Jude, Ethan wants to know why Sir Malcolm is running. Sir Malcolm isn't running. He buried his son in Africa. He goes there again to bring his son's body home. Upstairs, another scream. Victor is smashed against the walls. Sembeni cannot contain her. Vanessa is clawing at the walls and screams out. As the tattoo of Amon-Ra and Amonet is emblazoned on her chest, she tries to scratch out her wrists, but she is restrained. Downstairs, Victor shoots himself full of drugs. He goes to the window looking out at Caliban watching. Ethan comes into the room and wants to know what Victor intends to do. He'll try vitamins, blood transfusions, anything to help her stay alive. Ethan closes the door and says he doesn't trust Sir Malcolm. She isn't his daughter, and that's the problem. Vanessa doesn't fit in either world. He's keeping her alive. Victor goes to the window as it snows, Caliban still standing unmoving in the white flakes. More days pass as Vanessa howls out and must be restrained. They are all tired and exhausted. Sembeni is outside of her room, standing as a sentinel. Ethan fixes him dinner. He wants to know Sembeni's story, but he has no story. Ethan thinks Sir Malcolm saved him, but Sembeni proposes that it could be the other way around, and that Sir Malcolm is his responsibility. Sembeni says Ethan should call a priest. Ethan wonders if Sembeni believes in God, to which he responds that he believes in everything. Sir Malcolm is alone with Vanessa. He wants her to concentrate. She is between life and death. He wants her to find Mina. Vanessa says that he wanted this to happen all along, yet he denies it. She says how cruel he is. Ethan enters, ordering Sir Malcolm to get away from her. In the hall, Ethan accuses Sir Malcolm of wanting all this to happen. A priest should be called. Victor thinks it's ridiculous and accuses Sir Malcolm of murdering his way across the continent. Before they come to blows, Sir Malcolm orders to call for a priest. Ethan warns Sir Malcolm that if he indeed allowed this to happen, he will rip Sir Malcolm's throat out. Downstairs, Sir Malcolm asks Victor for something to stay awake. Victor gives him a cocaine derivative. He tells Sir Malcolm it was given to him as a boy to fight asthma, and he developed a taste for it. The priest arrives. Sir Malcolm tells the priest that Vanessa is being controlled by another force. The priest cannot perform the rite of exorcism, as in this state it's forbidden. He can administer last rites and do his duty, but nothing more. Victor calls him a ridiculous man, and then they all ascend. The priest is shocked by her condition. He goes to give her the last rites. She knows his name. Then she bites a chunk off of his cheek and throws him across the room. She hangs from the ceiling and tears at them. She takes them all out but Ethan, who holds a gun to her chest. She begs him for death. Ethan screams at her. Suddenly, he touches the token of St. Jude and speaks an invocation. Then the thing of inside her begins to resist as he repeats the invocation of St. Jude again and again and again and again. Then suddenly, she falls limp to the floor. Ethan leaves the room and Sir Malcolm enters. She is fast asleep. Later, Vanessa dreams of the theater, where claws slash and teeth rend. Then she opens her eyes. She goes downstairs and tells Sir Malcolm that she knows where Mina is. Again, questions linger. Is it Sir Malcolm who owes Sembeni his responsibility, or the other way around? What compelled Ethan to touch and speak the invocation to St. Jude? Is the being inside Vanessa really gone? And if so, how can she still sense Mina? Moreover, if the Grand Guignol is where the vipers sleep, how will they all survive? And if they survive, will Sir Malcolm do what is necessary to save his daughter? All these questions we will seek the answers to in the season finale next time. The change of director did the show very well. The script is outstanding. The pacing is unbelievable. It sets such a tone of dread that even though you're watching a show, and even though that Ava Green is the star, you really believe that Vanessa is going to die. It's a powerful performance from Ava Green and Josh Hartnett in particular. This is the first real victory that Sir Malcolm, Ethan, and Vanessa have really had against this thing. But at what cost? Folks, we're back at the Dracula podcast. We hope you enjoyed our subcast, Casting Dread, Penny Dreadful Show. We're 7 down and 1 to go, and the last one is a doozy, and it's coming on our next episode. And right now we're getting into the media review portion of our show, or as Professor Van Helsing calls it,
the ghastly paraphernalia of our beneficial trade.
He nails it every single time. Every time. It's like he's programmed to do such a thing. But no one delivers it better. We're continuing on with our review of the Hammer Horror Dracula series, starting in 1958 and continuing on. So far, they've done okay. The first 3, which were directed by Terence Fisher, absolutely got the Dracula podcast seal of approval. But when they changed directors, things went down a little. These weren't bad films, but they weren't good films. So as we continue our conversation with Dracula historian and aficionado John Johnson, we'll see if this Hammer franchise can hold up the standard set by the beginning, or will they fall flat? And we're getting into that right now. So moving on, also released in 1970, is actually my favorite film of the Dracula franchise. Directed by Roy Ward Baker and also written by Anthony Hines, it's Scars of Dracula. People don't like this movie for some reason, but I do. Talk about your feelings about the movie in general.
Well, my feeling about the movie in general is simply this. This movie shows you that you don't mess with Dracula. I mean, a whole village basically is wiped out, or at least the women folk of a particular Transylvanian village is completely wiped out in the first few scenes by Dracula's minions, some bats. That is interesting. That is very interesting. But the whole film, you see a side of Dracula in this one that you didn't really see in the other ones. There's a little more manipulation.
And they also use Christopher Lee's best asset, his voice.
Yes.
They use it more in this movie.
Oh, he has such a wonderful tone in his voice. He really does. The man could read the packet off. Even
in Horror of Dracula, they didn't use his voice that much.
No, they didn't. And I'm 100% with you on that. That's what lacked in a lot.
Now,
of
the
it.
special effects were garbage, okay?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The art direction can get downright silly at times, but the story, it emphasizes the sexuality of the thing. Mm-hmm. Also, the romanticism and the purity. They tried, Christopher Lee, you can see him fighting to insert Stoker whenever he's on screen.
Yes.
You can see him doing that, despite what he's being asked to do. And I don't know about you, but I'm giving this the Dracula podcast seal of approval.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Buy this on DVD. I would say stay within the $10 to $15 range. Mm-hmm. They also have a decent documentary of it, the Hammer Collection. I hope this gets released on Blu-ray. Unfortunately, you'll be able to see the weaknesses of the thing, specifically with the effects. But I like it. A lot of it takes place in Dracula's castle, and it hasn't been explored that much. Because in Horror of Dracula, it's sort of a very clean place. It's not Stoker-esque at all.
Absolutely.
And this starts to go down the road of the Stoker-esque.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can definitely see that. But I also believe that Roy Ward Baker had a lot to do with that. He was an exceptional director, and he did another piece a few years later on with Peter Cushing called The Masks of Death.
I like his style a lot.
Yes, he has an excellent eye for these things and an eye for detail. And so, yeah, I'm with you on that one. Scars of Dracula definitely is one to see.
So we've covered 6 movies, and so far we're 4 out of 6 on Seal's approval. Mm-hmm. That's not bad. Now's when things start to go down.
Yes. The
screenwriter changes yet again. It's Don Houghton. The director is Alan Gibson. The story is called Dracula A.D. 1972.
Oh, yes, but, we do have one saving asset for this movie with me. That is that Cushing is back. He's playing not one Van Helsing, but two Van Helsings. And something too that to watch out for in this whole series is the fact that Peter Cushing is never called Abraham Van Helsing, which is the name in the book. In this particular film, we find out that the Dracula, the vampire hunter from the 1890s that first dispatched Dracula, which it shows Dracula being dispatched right off in a totally different perspective than what the book ever gave, is that the character's name is Lawrence Van Helsing.
That was because of me.
Oh, it must be.
Yeah. Even though I wasn't born yet. That was absolutely because of me. They saw into the future in 2015 where this thing would be released.
Right. Or they just didn't have a good writer.
Exactly.
Well, And then later on, of course, he's named Lorimer Van Helsing. So, but anyways, yes, Cushing is back, but the film overall is incredibly lacking.
I like a couple things in this. I actually like the music of the modern version. I like the fact that they take the risk of moving to 1972. It's a nice risk. And there is a challenge. I'm not sure if anyone's picked up on this, but you and I are Dracula historians.
Yes.
Take that epic theme to Dracula 1972 in all its disco glory. Put Saturday Night Fever, Tony Manero's epic dance scene, John Travolta's You Should Be Dancing, and compare the two and cue it right up at the same time. It's perfect.
It is.
It doesn't miss a beat. It's awesome.
Yes.
But as for the movie itself, look, there's bad performances all around. Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee can't say the thing because honestly they're not given that much to do.
No.
The cinematography's bad, the script writing is lazy, and the directing is also lazy. I give this an absolute thumbs down.
I have to agree. Even though it's a Cushing and Lee flick, I have to. It's great to see them again on the screen.
It is.
But just to see them together in a film is not enough to save it. The story, for me, is just, I'm sorry.
All right, folks, there you have it. Another twofer. The Scars of Dracula and Dracula AD 1972. I know I am in the distinct minority, but Scars of Dracula is my favorite. It feels like a Dracula movie. The castle feels like Castle Dracula. The girls feel like they should be in a Dracula movie. The special effects are horrendous, but the music and shots are interesting. It really is my favorite. And the DVD version that I actually own is from the Hammer Collection via Anchor Bay. The thing's 95 minutes long, it's in full color, and Christopher Lee really gets to use his voice, and that's really his best asset. I don't know why they didn't do so until now. I mean, Terence Fisher had 3 films, 2 of which had Christopher Lee in it, and they still didn't use the dialogue as it should be used. So really, Scars of Dracula is one of those rarities. As for Dracula AD 1972, it might be fun to watch on a marathon. I'm pretty sure you might have to be inebriated to enjoy it, but in some way it's an interesting time capsule of 1972, or at least what the filmmakers envisioned 1972 what it was. It's very dated, but I suppose in a certain context it could be fun. So folks, we're not yet done. There are actually 2 more Hammer films to review in the Dracula series. We've covered Horror of Dracula, Brides of Dracula, Dracula Prince of Darkness, Dracula's Risen from the Grave, Taste the Blood of Dracula, Scars of Dracula, Dracula AD 1972. And there are 2 more. John Johnson will be back as we conclude the Hammer Horror Dracula series. And also next week, we conclude Season 1 of Penny Dreadful. So that way you're absolutely ready and caught up for Season 2. Go out and buy that Blu-ray, don't be caught off guard. Folks, that's all I have for today. Thanks to all of you. Thank you to my producer Adam Stover, to Rob and Martha of Southgate Media, and most of all, folks, you for listening. But most importantly, to you and yours, have an excellent day.